McDonald. Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, I've got the scoop on one of the biggest news items came out of Tempe, Arizona this weekend. I am here with my friend and witness to the fall heard around
Arizona.
Justin Martindale. What a fucking weekend.
Woo, it was fun, huh? What's new?
If you have not heard, I fainted on stage. And I want to tell you guys all about it. To all my friends that are texting me that are saying, like Josh Fleck, what happened? I really don't have the time to text what happened. Okay, that's the joy of having a podcast like Carrie Bradshaw and Shay Diaz.
Yes.
Okay, so that you can listen to this and you can hear the whole story. You can hear Justin's perspective. I mean, first of all, let's just start out with how great the weekend started out. And I am wearing sunglasses.
Because it's bright in here, yeah.
I really don't want to reveal how bad it is.
Yeah.
But I have two completely black eyes, which I guess is a result of when you hit the back of your head really hard or something. The vessels in your eyes are so sensitive that the blood goes there, and yes.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that of when I noticed that for the first time, because it was like a day later. But the weekend started out great. We had the show Friday night, one show Friday night at the Tempe Improv, 2 Saturday. I hadn't done stand-up since end of November, and I was leading up to it. I was a little nervous because I hadn't done it in a while. I couldn't find my stand-up notes. I was doing a bunch of new stuff, but I had the funnest show ever. You were great. It was so fun. We had such a fun time. It was sold out.
Sold out. You had your She by Sheree pants on.
I did. I wore joggers for the first time, which is like, I bought these satin joggers. What's the brand? Sync something? C-I-N-K? C-I-N-Q? Kind of expensive. Anyway, with a blazer by Veronica Beard. Yes. And I originally had a t-shirt on, and then I felt it was a little Captain Sandy. So then I went and put a satin top on. I was loving my outfit, loved my stand-up, had the best time. You and I did a bunch of meet and greet photos after on stage. Here we are, just
Everyone was so
loving
fun.
life. Everyone's so nice. We went out with Annie, who was here, thank God, because she had a girlfriend who lives in Phoenix. So she and her girlfriend came out with us. We got some food at Montauk, and then we went to
BS West.
a gay bar that had drag queens.
Yeah.
You're being a little LA snob right now.
What do you mean?
It was good. They were
was
very
fun.
nice. They
Yes.
were very nice, and it was fun, but not a crazy night.
No, in the least. It was like...
We went home, went to sleep.
Uh-huh.
The next day, my son, who goes to ASU. The hotel we were at, he did an electric skateboard to my hotel. Peter, as you know, always likes to pick a place that has a free breakfast.
Yes.
So I said, come, we have a free breakfast, but we have to get it before 10.
At our hotel.
So he rolled up at 9:30. The breakfast,
I know.
I was like, my boy's not having this.
I had it
I'm
on
not
Sunday.
having this. You had it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went to some other cute place around the corner and had a great breakfast. Then we went to my nephew's house. What was great is that Peter's sister, Karen, and her husband have lived in Arizona for years. Her son graduated from ASU, bought a house. He's a young entrepreneur, YouTuber, bought a house. We go to his house. He lets us borrow the car. Drake and I, we go to Nordstrom. We see some Juicy Scoopers there. I buy Drake some clothes. Then we go to have lunch at like 2. Kind of a late lunch. I had like half of a burger, going to save the half for later because I had a little fridge in my room. And half of a beet burrata salad. Also took that home because I'm like, I might be hungry when I get home. Got to the show, and you and I both said, no, we'll eat in between the shows because we had another show at 9:45.
Right.
I wasn't that hungry at that point.
And I had a late lunch too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I had a half of a Red Bull, not even a full, half of a sugar-free Red Bull, the small ones, which I do all the time. It's on my rider. And I also came out on stage with a water. Now, when you were on stage, and by the way, you were so funny Saturday night.
Thanks.
I mean, I liked you Friday, but I didn't think Saturday was funnier. Okay. And I was even going to like write you a note.
Well, I was the show Saturday, so.
And I was almost like, I should write him a note and say you were so funny tonight and leave it in the green room. But I didn't.
That's okay.
Well, I should have. Based on what happened next, I
love
really
your
should
woulda,
have.
coulda, shouldas. I should have left you a note.
And so then I get up and now I'm wearing a different blazer.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a leather blazer with this little Alice and Olivia like chain little top that's like spaghetti strap and black jeans and little shoes that are not high and they're pretty comfortable. Vince Camuto. Okay. Very, very inexpensive at Nordstrom. Anyway. And I stood up and I was like, I feel slightly weird. I probably should have had a little something, but I'll be fine.
Yeah. Because I had a full coffee in the green room.
And you
night.
offered me a coffee, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I already had half of a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Let's like not overdo the caffeine. Come out and there's a little room off to the side of the stage. So I'm there. I'm hearing your last thing, which was, can we do a happy birthday to your boyfriend, Evan? Happy birthday. Glad he had a good one. Anyway. Forever. His birthday is going to be the anniversary of the fall. Okay. So now, throughout my fall tour, I was coming out to She's a Brick House.
Uh-huh.
She's a brick house. But on Friday night, when the audio girl came in, I go, you know what? I had so much fun doing karaoke to WAP with Drake and Brandon, who knew every single line.
Which is weird.
And great. At the same time, I'm like, I'm going to do it to that. So I did that Friday, and I'm like, I'm going to keep it for Saturday. It was such a fun thing to do. So I came out, and I was really excited getting into it. Now, this is one of the, okay, I will say about 3 years ago, Drake, when he was 16, saw my stand-up act at the Tempe Improv. And it went fine. But it was all different stories, okay? I talk a lot about Drake. At lunch, I said, Drake, just know it's not totally how I feel, but, you know, it is fun stuff. And he's like, it's fine, Mom. He's like, do you just not want me to go? I'm like, no. Garrett and his girlfriend, his cousin, and my nephew are taking you to Dave and Buster's. Like, I want you to have a fun night. Like, no. There was a little part of me that was like, maybe I don't want you to go. Because I knew it was... Here's the thing. How do you feel when there's really close people in the audience? I kind of have a better set when there's nobody I know that's like personal to me.
Right. I feel the same way. When
You
people
get
are
a
like,
little in
we're
your
here,
head.
we're in the audience. It's
Yeah.
like, just shut up. Let me do my thing. I'm glad you're here. Just
Yes.
keep it to yourself. I don't want to know.
Sometimes you get a little in your head about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, or all of a sudden you start telling a joke and like, I have a friend who's a widow. You know, and I have a couple of years ago, she was in the audience and I have a joke, you know, about my dateline and, you know, Peter dying fantasies. And I was like halfway through, I'm like, holy fuck. Like my friend's husband died like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of like get in your head
Yes. You're like, oh, this might be a little sensitive and I'm sorry, but here we go.
Yes. So, but, you know, I'm excited. So, and Drake told me where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Up in the balcony, but on the first row. So I didn't have to see his face or anything. And my son is 19. So, okay. So anyway, so I start to dance and I get into the WAP dance. I do a booty drop.
You did
okay?
do a drop.
I drop, I dance. And I make a quick joke about that the U.S. Open, because my son's a golfer, is the Waste Management Open. And Drake and I joked that day about it being such an uncute name. He's like, you're right. It's not the BMW Open. It's not the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm just going to say that because it's local, whatever. So I say that, and then I say this, and then this happens. Okay, so we're going to play it.
I'm happy to be
trigger
here.
warning.
Yeah.
I don't mean to brag. I don't care, but I want you to know, double vaxxed, booster, flu shot, And I'm going to be honest, I have the shingle shot too. And I still get my period. What? Yes! Traveled, went to Mexico twice, did shows, meet and greets, never got COVID. Clearly, Jesus loves me the most. Seriously. So nice, so nice.
Boom! Somebody once told me the world. I mean,
So there we go.
and can I just say,
And yes, please say, and then I'll tell you what was going in my head.
this was, well, nothing was
Yeah,
going
where
on.
were you? Were you in the green room?
So
Did
I
you
had
see it?
left.
Okay.
So, you got on stage.
Yeah.
I stayed for a little bit just to see if you know, what you were doing. And then
Yeah.
I walked back to the green room. Now, in the green room, they had a huge TV, much like this, up on the wall. So I walked back in there, got on my phone, because my friend was like, hey, my brother's coming to the next show.
Right.
Are we on the list? And I'm like, yes. So at that time, I'm looking at my phone and I hear, "Gung, gung, gung," which was you falling.
Right.
And I look up and I see you on the ground and I'm like, well,
That's
she
not her
doesn't
act.
do that. What is that? And then I like, wait a minute. And then like the guys come out and I'm like, holy shit, did she just like pass out? So I'm walking around. The staff is kind of like doing this and everyone in the audience is kind of like goofed because they're like, was this part of the act?
Right.
Because you literally were like, and Jesus loves me. Ging.
Right.
And, you know, and so everyone took care of you. They took you off stage. Now, when everyone started writing this and making these, you know, articles about like, oh, Heather McDonald passes out on stage, they're saying that you made fun of the unvaccinated, which I'm standing my ground and saying, which, sorry,
Yes.
too soon, standing my ground. You know, she wasn't making fun of that. She was just letting everyone know that she got the shots. She's, you know, everything.
Well,
It just
I
worked out
say
weird.
that because it's the truth.
It is
and
the truth.
I told a funny story about
Yes.
how hard it was to get my booster. That I think you're with when I had to go to the two, try to go to the two rehabs to try to wait in line to get the booster. And I also say it to make the people feel confident that I have followed the rules. As someone in entertainment, we have to get vaccinated.
We have to
really.
do it.
And but I also say, and I said it the night before, like, I'm not judgmental of whatever anybody wants to do.
cares?
Like, but I was like, you know, hey, like, I do feel a little braggy when in LA they ask for my card because they put the flu shot. So my whole card is full now.
Yeah, you've got a Starbucks
I have all
stamp.
four.
Yeah.
I've got all four. two vax, the booster, and the flu. And then, because I am over 50, I did get the shingle shot. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I have the shingle shot, and I currently have my period. So, and that's something I've always joked about, that I still get my period.
Me too.
Ode to Brandy Glanville, who would bring it up a lot. So I just was like, but when I was, and then I go on to do jokes about, you know, other funny things about like COVID and my kids getting vaccinated, and that, you know, it just leads to a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I said that, I remember looking out, I could see everything. My vision never like went out, but I had the weirdest like dizzy kind of a situation, and I'm holding my mic, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, right before that I was thinking, ooh, is this leather jacket too hot? Am I going to have to take this off halfway through? Uh-huh. And I was like, I don't love the outfit without it, but it's not like I can't wear it. Like, you know.
But the shirt was solid.
The shirt was solid.
Yeah, it looked hot.
You know, I didn't, the bra might not looked great because you could kind of see it, but it was tan. And, you know, it looked cuter with jacket, like gives me more of a waist with jacket, but I like would have been fine. So I was thinking, ooh, maybe this leather is too hot.
Because in that club, we talked about that too the night before. It was a club that was cold, but it was hot as well. It was really strange. Yeah, because remember the photographer was like, "Yeah, you may want to keep your jacket on because it's
cold in there, but on stage it's different."
But on stage it's different. Yeah.
So I remember thinking that, and then and I was like, "Wow, what the fuck is happening here? This better pass soon."
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do the rest of my act, like for an hour. Like I go for like an hour and 10, you know? And honestly, that's all I remember.
So weird.
And then when I woke up, it was out of that movie scene where
Heather?
yes,
Heather?
it really
Heather?
was. It was like
Yeah.
4 or 5 faces
Yeah.
around me. One woman with short hair, another woman with long hair. One was a doctor, one was a nurse.
Yes.
They were juicy scoopers.
Shout out to them. They were amazing.
They were like right away, like, Heather, I'm a
Yes.
doctor, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is not happening.
Yeah.
I was just all like, this is not happening. This is a dream. I dream really vividly. And in my dreams, when a dream is really bad, I will say, this is a dream. And some people in the dream will go, no, it's not, Heather. And I'll go, yes. And I'll go, this is a dream. Wake up. And I can wake myself up.
Oh, wow.
So I literally, like, a few times really bad things have happened.
Oh, I'm in the
in my
nightmare.
life, I've been like, is this a dream? And I'm like hitting myself, like, this is so bad. Because Annie reminded me that I have like stand-up stress dreams. And
Oh, where you dream about doing stand-up on stage and it's the actor's nightmare?
yes, it's like I haven't even glanced at my notes.
You forget
I don't
everything.
remember something weird like that. And or sometimes it's tied into like a college nightmare where like I don't even know where the classroom is and I'm
Yeah.
2 weeks into the class.
Yep.
And I'm like, I have to go talk to the counselor to get my schedule so I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to need a tutor now because I've missed 3 weeks. Like I have this.
I do that all the time. I have those all the time.
In college.
College or
Yeah.
high school. It's
Yes,
like, oh,
high school too.
I've missed so many classes. Am I going to graduate? I'm like, I haven't been in college in like years.
And I have dreams when I'm stressing about college where I go, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a stand-up. I don't need this degree. I like literally fight with the people in the dream. And I've had
This
and-
piece of trash
and I've
paper.
and the things I've worried about happening on stage
Yeah.
have never been fainting. It's been like getting my period and it like coming through my clothes or something, which is why I'll never wear white pants, even maybe in 5 years. But I will never wear white pants.
Unlike
on stage.
Charlotte, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, like Charlotte, and and just like that. And then also, Sarah and I talked about how isn't it kind of interesting that there's times where you're like, holy shit, get me to a bathroom, right? You have to but I
What's
have
today?
never, I have never had that on stage.
Oh, yeah. Neither have I.
Bobby Lee once in an interview told me he actually left the stage and was like, give me a minute, and left the stage to take a shit. But I'm like, isn't that interesting that like in all the hours I've been on stage, maybe something with your nerves like works with your anyway. So, but I have said on this show that I've had a fainting fantasy.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can't believe I've never fainted. And I'm like, did I fucking put it out there?
Yeah.
And I remember somebody wrote me and said, stop with your fainting fantasy. I fainted. It's not fun. But I think every time I've seen someone faint, like in an old-fashioned movie, or when Lisa Vanderpump was on Dancing with the Stars, which some people wonder if she really fainted or not. Her partner was there to catch her, and then she got to get off the show.
And there's a chaise lounge or something nearby.
Right.
You didn't have that.
And if I wasn't on stage, where there's nothing on stage, there's the tiny stool where my note was, and the mic stand. But there's no furniture, there's no human. If I had felt dizzy at that moment around, I would have grabbed but there wasn't. And I just like timber, like went back on really hard on the back of my head. And so then the people come around and I go into that little side room and they sit me down and now the EMTs are there. And my son and you and my sister-in-law, Karen, come in. And I'm just like, I'm still thinking, how am I going to remember all my jokes?
Oh, you thought the show was still happening.
Yeah.
You were like, the show, you were that Hollywood starlet, like, the show.
Yeah.
They want me, they need me, the show. And I was like, Heather, you passed out on stage, there's no show.
And then-
what do you mean, the show, the fans?
And then the manager, I'm thinking about the guy I met at Nordstrom that's like, I'm so excited to see you. This other woman that came up to me that's like, my husband has no idea who you are. He produces movies in Hollywood, but I'm actually excited to see you. And I said to Drake, I go, you know, I get a lot of fans that are like, they think they're giving me a compliment, but they're not.
Yeah.
You know, like
Like
he
that
doesn't know who she is.
Like that lady who said I had a nice emphysemic laugh. Still haven't forgotten. Yeah. It's like, thanks. I don't know if that's a compliment, but thank you.
So I was thinking about them, you know, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what? Like, you're just going to, he's like, no, we're sending them home. We already sent out an email to the 945. It's canceled.
Yep.
And I was horrified, but at the same time, like a little relieved because I'm like, I really don't think I could stand up there for an hour and do a show and the 50 meet and greets.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's not like you went out like middle. You went out 3 minutes into your set. It was literally like, hey, what's up? It's like, well, there was that. Like, it was shockingly crazy how fast it happened. It was, you know what I mean? It wasn't like you're like in the middle 30, 45 minutes in. It was just like, hi, everyone.
Were you there,
boom.
were you there when the EMTs were like asking me all the questions? Like,
oh, yeah, I was there.
Where are you?
Can I give an impression?
Please
Here
do
we go.
it. Please do it. Okay.
Heather, Miss McDonald, what day is it? The weekend. Close. Here's my favorite. Heather, yeah. Who is the president of the United States? I was like, don't ask her that. We don't know. I was like, no one in this room.
She doesn't know.
No, who knows who the... We're in Arizona. Don't ask that question.
What did I say? Because I remember that one was kind of hard for me.
It was really hard for you. I was like, I was in the back like... And you were like, I was.
What did I say?
You didn't even give an answer. I don't even think you gave an answer.
I thought I said, "Is it still Biden?"
Is it still Biden? Yeah.
Because I was like, it feels like.
I was like, don't say that too loud.
No, but I
We're in
feel like the guy was like, I know, but no, but I was like in my head, like I do get mixed up, like between 2020, 21, and 22.
Oh, girl,
like,
we all do.
It all just like blends.
We all do. Yes.
And I'm kind of like, wait, it's still Biden, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then they're like, okay. And then they're like, well, we really, you know, you had a concussion. You know, people thought I had a seizure.
Yeah. People did say there was a seizure. People did say you were hungover. People were saying, you know, oh, it's because you got vaccinated. I mean, the conspiracy theories, like you are the poster woman for QAnon right now. And I don't know if you wanted that or asked for it, but here you are.
I have heard that I've made the QAnon talk stuff.
You are the QAnon comedy shaman. We're going to paint half your face blue, half your face red. We're going to put some bull horns on you. And
I mean, okay. So then you know, I'm like, oh God, Drake, and you don't get to see my act, and my son, and you know, they planned their whole night around this, and I'm just still like, I cannot believe this happened. So then they're like, do you want, you know, we suggest you come with us in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to do that.
Well, I'm married to Peter Tobias, and if there's one thing I've learned is never take an ambulance ride. You'll never get that money back from the insurance. And unless you're seriously bleeding or you need them to do like code blue, do not, and you have no other way to get there, refuse the ambulance. The EMTs were pretty cute.
They were kind of hot. Yeah.
They were totally hot.
There was a couple of them that
and
were
they were like,
Magic
we really
Mike.
want to take you and everything.
Yeah.
And then, like Drake is like, no. Peter Jr. is like, no, we will drive you. And I'm like, and Karen, my sister-in-law, who is in the medical field, I'm like, she's like, let me take you. I know the hospital I want to take you to and everything. So I'm like, okay. So we were able to walk out there with like Drake, like leaning on Drake. I see a couple Juicy Scoopers out there. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They're like, we love you, Heather. We get in the car and my sister-in-law is like, I'm taking you. We are going to St. Joseph's. It's Catholic and it has a neurological center. And let me tell you, this hospital was fabulous.
Good.
It was so nice. It was clean. It was updated. Lots of hot people working there too. I met like 4 hot neurosurgeons that all were like looking at all of my stuff. Each one came in. Each one was cuter than the next.
Wow.
I know. I'm like, where is Annie? What single Arizonian girl? I'm looking at rings. I'm like, there's nothing on these guys, just hands. The nurses were great. And then, and towards the end of my stay, another hot guy comes in with a gun.
What?
And he's like, I'm security for the hospital. And you are all over the news. So you are now part of our security detail. I mean, if I wasn't wet
Humble
before,
brag.
I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And then he's like, have you seen our Bret Michaels room?
What's the Bret Michaels room?
Bret Michaels, I guess, is when I think there was something where there were two things I think that happened to Bret Michaels. One was that like something hit him in the head. I think another one might have been like he did have an aneurysm or something. Anyway, he went there and he was so impressed with their care that he has donated some guitars and stuff. And there's
To the hospital?
To the hospital.
That's great. I
And
love
there-
a guitar room in a hospital.
Yeah. So I'm like, now what do you want? A Juicy Scoop poster? Like, what am I going to do?
The scoop room?
So he's like, so if anybody calls, we're going to say, no patient, so they have to have a code. I'm like, okay, well, it's just my assistant, so I'll tell her. I go, honestly, I'm not that kind of a celebrity. I'm like, there might be some like Phoenix moms that want to come and like bring me some food. I'm like, but like,
A Jell-O mold?
yeah, like nobody is like, nobody is like going to come and be like, "Arr." So, but anyway, when I first get to the hospital, they won't let Drake or Karen or anybody come with me because of COVID.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So they're like, we're going to run your tests. It's going to be about an hour. Then they're like, no, you're staying the night in ICU. That kind of scared me. So then I'm like, okay, Drake, he goes to sleep at his cousin's house. And the CAT scan, I did the CAT scan. They gave me IV.
Did you do an MRI?
I think I did an MRI, EKG, heart stuff. Then they put me in the ICU, which, let me tell you, these nurses, they should do stand-up. My God, right outside of my door, just killing it, all of them, all night long, just everyone laughing, telling stories, and then every hour you have to get your blood pressure taken. I haven't been in the hospital. The only times I've been in the hospital in my life, besides I was born, was I went home with a baby.
Oh.
So I'm like, when I leave, can someone give me a baby?
Just give me a new one.
I'm used to leaving a hospital with a baby. That was the last time I had an IV, like everything. So I'm like, oh my God. So, and when I got there for the night, they're like, we need to give you this quick sponge bath, and we need to take off.
Did you get a sponge bath?
Yes, and we need to take off your underwear and everything in case we have to immediately do a procedure. And I go,
What
wait
is
a minute.
that?
I go, wait a minute. Like in the middle of the night, if something happens, you're gonna just like shave my head and give me like a brain surgery? Like I'm like,
That's what I thought.
I mean that's
I thought they were going to shave your head.
And he goes, and then
Sorry.
they're like, no, we won't do that, but it's just protocol. I was
Okay.
like, okay, but like, do not like shave my head, throw me in a surgery without like me calling my husband or something, like, and they're like, okay. So the night goes fine. And then they're like, we're going to keep you one more day, but in a normal room. And so Annie comes back.
Wait, so who gave you the sponge bath? A hot
like
doctor or a
no,
nurse?
just all girl nurses.
Oh, boo. Okay. Sorry, Peter. Yeah.
I don't want the hot. No, I would have wanted all girls. Okay. I
Yeah,
only
me
wanted-
too.
Okay. So now what I don't realize
Yeah.
is I still have my lashes on and stuff. Okay. And I did do an Instagram story in the ER because I just was like 700 people. The first show was sold out, second show was sold out.
Yeah.
I asked the guy at like 6:30, how is the 9:45 show? 400 is sold out. He's like, you're at 300. So I'm like, 700 people thought they were seeing me tonight. I just have to let them know what happened, and I want them to know, like, I can talk
You're
and I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know how okay I am, because I'm thinking, like, do I have some ticking time bomb inside me? Like, what caused this? I don't know. So that's why I'm like, yes, do all the tests. And he, so that's what people picked up. So Charlie from TMZ calls me. The phone rings. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, hello? She's like, hi, Heather. It's Charlie from TMZ. We just saw her, can you tell us what happened? So I basically just told her what happened. And I'm like, I'm in the hospital now, whatever. So then the next day, Peter's talking to Dr. Drew, and Dr. Drew says, I want her to get this one other test for her heart. And Annie comes and she's like, I'm like bringing like my makeup and stuff. I still have like my lashes on. And she's like, do you want a makeup wipe? And I take my makeup off. I take off my lashes. She's like, do you want another wipe? I'm like, no, like no, just give me my moisturizer. Okay. So.
Oh no, I see where this is going.
So I go to the next room, not the ICU unit. So now the door can shut and like it's like a room with like a shower and like a bathroom and all this. And so they're like, every time you go to the bathroom, we need to come with you. So I go to the bathroom and I turn.
And saw.
And so maybe we should show the people real quick.
Oh, do you want to do it?
Should we not?
I don't know. It's up to
I
you.
just know yesterday the doctor was saying that you might do things you don't want to do.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably. Thank you, Annie, for
All
the
right,
voice of reason.
all right.
Yeah, I was like,
Justin,
don't do it.
It scared Justin and it
It
scared
didn't
Brandon.
scare me. It's just it is alarming.
I had to show Justin the way I showed my son Brandon.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
I need to
alarming.
show you something.
Yeah.
So Peter wants me to.
And so we can.
to the fans.
Okay. I look like Julia Fox with her eye makeup that Kanye made her get. Literally,
That
I was
Kanye
like,
put on her.
Yeah, it's basically if I just put the black.
It's Black Swan.
It's Black Swan.
Yeah.
Where am I? Where's Black Swan? Here I am.
There
That's
you are.
what it looks like.
This
It's all black because first I'm like, did I fall on my face? He's like, no. When you
Yeah.
have a lot of trauma to your head, then the blood vessels come. But I did not know that I look like that. And it was like that moment in the first Sex and the City movie after Big blows her off on the wedding day. And
She
then
drops the flip phone.
no, she goes into the bathroom.
Oh.
And I remember I went to the premiere of that movie and I was with Guy Branum and the whole audience goes, but it was just her without makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have added a little dark circles, but like, that's the way I
close-up
felt. I was
shot,
like,
yeah.
and I said to the nurse, I go, what the fuck? You guys have been looking at this face for like a day. I was like, I had no idea. Holy shit.
There's no mirrors in the hotel, in the hospital.
No.
Yeah.
And look, when I did that Instagram thing, I not only
You
did
just had little ones right here.
I had like a little bit of
Yeah.
I have a photo from the Instagram.
Yeah, right there.
Well, that was from the thing, but I couldn't. You can see I'm starting to bruise up, but it looks like a smoky eye.
I'm happy to.
And oh wait, where?
I don't think the Instagram's in there.
Oh, okay. So anyway, but let me see where I want to be here. This was all the news articles.
Look at that.
So Janine Tull Danielson, she put this together for me. It was all my articles from my fall. Now, some people were like, oh, really? But that filter worked. When I did my Instagram story, well, my Instagram story does have filters. And guess what? I fucking did a filter.
Yeah.
With the filter and the eyes already puffing, right before they turned purple, they kind of looked good.
Yeah.
It kind of looked good. And
Was it the filter that we did in our picture where I looked
Yeah.
like the cocoon person?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good filter. Who knew it would come in handy again?
So, anyway, the good news is, you guys, is that all the tests, they just said there's nothing that was like, that caused it. Like, I didn't have like some ticking time bomb. I didn't, but they were very careful of like, they put these things on my legs, so, to stimulate my legs so I wouldn't have blood clots. They checked everything over and over again. And now I'm just recovering from having a concussion. So I did have a fracture in my skull, like right in the back of which caused some bleeding. But then the second CAT scan.
External bleeding or internal
No,
bleeding?
all internal. But then the next CAT scan, the morning after, showed that it was already starting to heal itself.
Okay,
so,
good.
And then my heart thing was fine. And so the question is, why?
Well, I might have poisoned your Red Bull.
So somebody, of course, people said, I just can't believe. Okay, and all the friends writing me. Okay,
Yeah.
and one thing is, I'm not supposed to be on my phone a lot, looking at tiny screens of things. So Annie's like writing everyone back, and everybody's being so sweet and so great. But then there's people like Josh Flagg that just writes. So what happened?
Yeah.
All right, I fucking knocked my head. Now you want me to explain the whole thing to you? Can you just read one of these articles? This is what happened. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. Like, So, I mean, hopefully everyone can listen to this and hear exactly what happened. Other people did think, did somebody slip something in your drink?
Really? That was real?
Yes. And I'm like, there's absolutely no way because I didn't get a drink from the staff.
No, you were with me the whole time.
I opened the Red Bull. It was just you and me.
Yes, it was just you and me.
And then I opened a bottle of water.
Yeah.
That's it.
There was nobody was slipping
Yes.
stuff. No.
And at that whole day, Drake, doesn't drink. I mean, maybe he does, but not with me. He's 19. We didn't drink at lunch.
That's what's crazy.
I did throw up my lunch. I did throw up my lunch.
You did throw up that. I'm so glad I left the room before.
Oh my God. I threw up in the green room.
Some
and then
ice bucket. I was
yes. And then I threw up at the
hospital.
ER. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a sign of dehydration and a head trauma.
A lot of people say I'm the thirstiest bitch around. They could be true.
Yeah.
Could be true. It could be I was that thirsty that
I was kind of amazed, how much this blew up. I'm really glad. I'm very proud of my tweet that went viral.
What was your tweet? What did you say?
I gave a tweet that people were like, oh yeah, her, comedian Justin Martindale said, Heather McDonald's a champ. It was scary, but she's surrounded by family, and we're going to come back to Arizona juicier than ever.
We are. And I'm like, I just couldn't believe that it was the night, that Drake was going to come.
Yeah.
I am really grateful, though, that you were there. I wasn't in a city with
your family was there.
A local opener or no opener at all. I was really grateful to have my family there. Karen, my sister-in-law, and brother-in-law Gunnar, and Garrett, my nephew, and then, of course, Drake.
Yeah.
And the next day when I was talking on the phone with Drake, and I'm so bummed because when we were at lunch, I made a reservation for Drake and I to golf. Well, really for him to golf, me to just tool around in the cart. At JW Marriott at Camelback, which is the most gorgeous hotel. Mm-hmm. And we had a 1:00 tea time. And I remember being in the ICU and being like, do you think I can bounce around in that cart? I was still thinking that.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to have brunch with my sorority sister, Christy Clark. That's her maiden name. But that's who I was supposed to have. And, I'm like, I better cancel that. So I'm like, Drake, they better return the money. I mean, just send him one of these articles. We can't do it. Even though it's you're within the 24 hours, you can't cancel. And he was like, Mom, are you glad it was me that was there and not Dad?
Oh, God. Is this Heather's choice?
He's like, because do you think Dad would have been like, you're fine, sleep it off. You don't need to go to the hospital.
Well, that's what he said. That's what Drake said.
What did Drake say?
Drake was just like, let's just go back to the hotel and get in the bed. And I was like, that's like what Natasha Richardson did.
That's all I was thinking.
Yeah, I was like, no, she has a concussion.
And that's why, I always would wear a helmet, even though I'm going down bunny slopes, all that stuff. And I was thinking of Natasha. No, that's why I wasn't going to go home and go to bed.
I think you're lucky I was there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was lucky Karen was there.
Yeah.
My sister.
Karen was great.
She was like, no, she's going to the hospital. So, but on the ride to the hospital, I was sitting in the back, and Drake was like, Mom, do you want to hold my hand?
And you said, get off me.
No, I was like, yes.
Oh.
Here are some of the karmic things that I think caused me to faint.
Oh, okay. Things you've put out, things you manifested for this to happen?
One is I've said I had a fainting fantasy. I still have a hero fantasy that I'm fine to happen. That is finding someone from an Amber Alert, finding an abandoned baby. Mm-hmm. Those, one sort of happened at Disneyland, but that's not.
We'll let you decide which one happened.
That wasn't a real thing. That was just a kid that ran away from his mom and he was 4 and whatever. Okay. I had him for just a couple, 10 minutes. I'm talking a baby in a bush that someone left and then I get to keep it for a while.
Okay.
That's a fantasy. Also, in Amber Alert, when you see the license and then I see the Honda go by.
Oh, I've turned off my Amber Alerts. They're so annoying. Sorry.
So I still want those fantasies, but I have said I wanted a fainting fantasy.
Okay.
I was not nice about Adele canceling her show. Mm-hmm. I said she was dick whipped. I said that I think it's more about this new boyfriend and her relationship, and that added to all of her other anxiety. And no man would cancel his thing for a woman,
right?
And so that wasn't nice. coincidentally, Chelsea Handler had canceled her shows on Friday for that night and that weekend.
Which we were talking
Saturday.
about in the green room before the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what caused her to go to the hospital. She's like, her thing is, I'll be back. I scheduled it a month later, whatever, and I'm fine. And, I think Joe Coy, flew out to be with her. Peter stayed at home. Anyway. Oh, meanwhile.
Yes, I love that man of mine.
Meanwhile, I will say I did earlier in the day before this tragic thing. I texted Joe's sister because he's coming to Phoenix, and Drake saw the billboard, and so Drake is going to go see his show with and hopefully hang out with Little Joe. So, I mean, I don't know. So then people are like, is this like a conspiracy between Heather and Chelsea to be like, why are people canceling their shows?
Yeah.
Peter wants to defend himself.
I'm gonna have you.
I'm scooting.
I'm gonna have him scoot over. Because
Yes.
I know everyone's gonna go. What's going through my mind? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Number one is I didn't know if you had COVID or not.
Okay.
So you hadn't been tested. So I didn't know, should I drive there to pick you up or should I fly? That was my first thought.
Oh, because if I had COVID, you'd try to take me home in the car?
Yeah, I would have to take you.
And you'd let me infect you?
Sure.
That's hot.
I don't care.
I was tested
don't
at the
care
hospital.
about it.
I don't
The
have
second
it.
thing is, I did talk to you, and you said, "Hey, I just want to come home." And so I had a flight for you on Jet SweetX, which is like a semi-private plane, to come home. So I can't like fly there and come back. So it would be a lot easier if I would pick you up. And so I was kind of in like a waiting situation the whole time. And so then Annie happened to be there, and then the third thing is they wouldn't let anybody. You told me that they wouldn't let anybody in the hospital because of COVID, but somehow Annie was able to get into.
Honestly, I think once they knew I was a celebrity, like everything changes.
Oh, okay.
I mean that's kind of terrible,
right?
But
right.
They're really secure. Like they made me give the password.
Yeah, they had. I had to give a password, and so then she could come in. And
What's the password?
I'd like to know.
Yes, I would.
it's a password I use for other things. So I don't want to say.
Okay, for taxes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that and then I'm just gonna summarize that, and then when you're leaving the hospital, you're kind of in the let's wait and see situation. So I thought the best thing was like, hey, if they were going to release you early, it's better that I pick you up at the airport and have everything ready on this side.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't do.
It's fine.
And we have a have a teenager.
I will say when
so back to you, Justin.
Thank you, Peter.
I will say when they picked me up at the airport, and normally Peter never parks the car and comes in like a real valet. And he did. And he brought our dog Raven, our son Brandon, and he brought me some roses.
Good. Were there paparazzi at the airport saying, "She's returned"?
No, unfortunately not.
The Tempe Temptress is back.
Unfortunately
we
not.
kinda kept it under wraps. They were all writing, wanting to know when you were going to be released to interview, but I kind of felt like, hey, let's keep it under wraps. And
well, I just wanted to. I wanted to.
Busy, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling better now. I feel a little woozy. I'm not, supposed to drive for a while. But I just wanted people to know that I was not drinking. Mm-hmm. No one slipped anything in my drink.
There wasn't, yes.
I think it could have been the booty drop, so we can blame Cardi B.
Yeah.
Because the doctor said were you laying down, you came up really quick? I'm like, well, I did this like booty drop dance that might have... and then I showed the doctors the video.
And he was like, there it is.
And I'm like, oh my God, like this is like, when Wendy Williams passed out. But she was dressed up for Halloween.
Dressed up like the Statue of Liberty.
And so she had a wig on and she had like a cushiony hat thing. So, and when I watched her fall, she did fall like on her butt. She didn't, I was like
you went
timber.
all the way back.
Yeah.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
How long until I can make this a GIF?
Tomorrow. Today.
I want to do like, that's my shit. I want to make it like we'll put some music to it. You know, like back and forth, like
my friend.
I wouldn't do that.
My friend Kate Casey from Reality Life with Kate Casey wrote me and she said your next comedy tour should be called Falling Up.
Oh,
Clever. I was thinking Laugh Don't Faint.
Yeah.
I think Falling Up is better. I don't know. Like I said, this is just a weird, fluky thing. I do normally eat before.
Yeah.
Like
no, we do. We had a salmon salad.
I normally do eat something like within the hour before
Yeah.
I go on stage. Some people are like, but so that is a little weird. I'm definitely someone that like needs to eat every few hours. So I think that was it. I do think the climate change, the water, and I think the
I think it was
drop.
nerves. I think it
might be Drake's fault.
Yeah.
He even said that. He goes, "Do you think it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
a little in my head, nervous about you." But I'm talking to my agent. We're going to figure out when we're coming back. Justin and I. I mean, I love that club. They were so great.
They really shout out to the Tempe Improv. They were just on it. Like
yeah.
the girl who was helping us Pony, she was fantastic. Chad, he was amazing.
Yeah.
The whole staff just really stepped it up and like really took care of a really bizarre situation. The social media guy,
Yeah.
I forget his name. What was it? Was it?
I don't know.
Che? The peacoat guy. Remember? Okay.
Yeah,
he was great.
Yeah, and even when we were at lunch at this place across from Nordstrom, I said to Drake, I think this might be one of the best days I've ever had. Just spending the time with him and having such a fun weekend. And like, I was like, I'm so excited for the shows tonight.
Yeah.
So for this to happen, I just, my first thought was just, I hate to inconvenience anyone. That's why I'm like, I never cancel shows. Another karmic thing that caused, I never cancel shows. I never, don't put out a podcast. And so I'm sorry this one is a little bit late, but like, I just wanted you guys, I didn't want to just put out a show and not address it.
Yeah.
And so I wrote Justin, I'm like, can you come early in the morning? Because we're going to have to put it out a little bit later, but I want to get
course.
They did offer me OxyContin in the hospital.
Go through,
No,
dope
I said
sick.
no.
Oh,
I said
man.
no. I said
that's
absolutely
good. You probably,
not.
Yeah, don't
I'm
do
not
it.
ready to be addicted. Just a
Yeah.
Tylenol, please.
Calm down, Michael Keaton. I will say,
Yes.
I think that this kind of bring the Juicy Scoop family together because,
Yes.
I had a lot of strangers
Yeah.
reaching out to me and being like, "Oh my God, keep us updated. How is she? What's going on?" And I was hoping that you were going to ask me to come on to be like, "Hey, let's just kind of clear the air and like let everyone know what was going on."
You secreted it, and here you are.
And here I am. Like Chris Frangiola reached out.
Like my fainting fantasy.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
I don't want that. But
Don't
Chris
put the
Frangiola
bad
reached
shit
out.
rumors.
Sarah Colonna reached
Yes.
out. So it was kind of nice to see like how you were like Dr. Drew reached out. Like there was
Yeah.
Lala called me yesterday to make sure you were okay and what was going on. She was worried. So
I
I'm
just
keeping
wanted also
tabs on
people-
who gives a shit.
I also wanted people to know, like, cognitively and everything, every neuro test they gave me, which was the same thing over and over. Where are you? What year is it? Who's the president? Squeeze my hand, lift your leg, look at your eye. I passed all those from the moment I entered the hospital to like the whole time. So I'm so grateful for that. And
We also need a Men of Tempe neuro science calendar ASAP. So if you guys could get on that, find some more of your buddies and get some months together.
God, let me tell you, that hospital is nice. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Justin, for coming.
You got it.
I now have a great interview, a real juicy interview with Alexia from the Real Housewives of Miami, who has lived a telenovela life. And you don't have to know about the show or anything to be intrigued by her crazy life story, from being married to a drug cartel person to another guy who then turned out to be bisexual, and she met with his lover after he died. Very, very juicy. And I asked all the questions that nobody else has asked yet. So let's get into that. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. But you see me because you're watching this. But have you subscribed? Have you told a friend? Have you liked it? Have you copied the link and texted it to someone you love or you just feel like being a nice person to? Please do that. It keeps us going. So if you like watching Juicy Scoop here on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. So I am here with Alexia from the Real Housewives of Miami. We are watching it. I am thoroughly enjoying it. How has it been going? It was how many years between the last season and then the reboot, really, of the show for you, Alexia?
So it's been 8 years. We took an 8-year hiatus, and it just seems like it happened so quickly. I was hoping it would happen quicker because I didn't want to be like 8 years later. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to be 2 or 3 years would have been perfect. But 8 years later, here we are with our season 4.
You know, as fans and someone who follows the Bravo franchises and the Housewives, I feel like there was talk of Miami all the time. When is it coming back? It is coming back. It's not coming back. So was that for you too? Would you constantly hear from producers throughout the years?
Yeah, I mean, it was always like a tease, kind of. It's like I felt like they never told us we weren't coming back. It's kind of like it just like ended that way. And, you know, we kept in touch with the producers and all that. There was always like talk about it. And like I said, you know, during COVID, I guess Miami again became a very popular city. Miami's always been very unique and a very popular city. And our fans, honestly, we have to be very thankful to our fans that were always so vocal about bringing the show back and really like supporting us and loving us. And I think that finally, you know, they said, you know what, we need to listen to the fans and bring these ladies back. And then, you know, that's what happened. And everything else was really quick after that. You know, after we got that phone call, everything happened really quickly.
So how did you feel when they said, okay, the show's coming back, but it's not going to be on traditional Bravo. We're going to do it on Peacock. Did it matter to you? Did you think that you'd lose viewers, gain viewers? What was your thought on that?
No, you know what? As long as we were back, you know, and it was like the comeback, I was happy with either, you know, Bravo. Obviously, I would love to have it on Bravo as well because, you know, I feel like we belong there. We started there. You know, all the other franchises are on Bravo. So I would love to be on Bravo as well. But I understand that the world is changing and everything is streaming now. So I feel like it's also important that we're on a streaming platform. And I love that it's Peacock and that we're like driving all this traffic, you know, to Peacock because of our show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's all going to work out in your favor because I was watching Watch What Happens Live last night and Andy said, Ultimate Girls Trip will now be on following New Jersey on Bravo. So I wouldn't be surprised if very shortly too, they take your show and feature it on Bravo as well. That's what I predict.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that too. Mm-hmm.
So you really brought the juicy scoop with your life and what a life you're having. You, we see you on the show and you are engaged to your third husband to be. You guys have since gotten married. But we talk about your second husband, Herman, who we saw on the first 4 seasons of Miami back 8-10 years ago. And so tell me a little bit about that because you discover he has passed away and you discovered that he was bisexual. He had a boyfriend who you are then in contact with. So, and there were hints of this in previous seasons where Joanna Krupa, who was on the show with you, had mentioned it or talked about it, and it was shut down as a rumor. Take us back to that time. Did you at that time have any feelings as his wife that this might be true, or what were your thoughts?
No, I mean, the truth is that in season 3, well, first of all, I came out of Joanna's mouth and she didn't even know Herman or knew anything. So it's not like I was believing it. And it wasn't really like that how it happened, right? But, you know, forget about the show and about Joanna. Like in my personal life, I did have a confrontation with him years before, maybe like 10 years into our marriage, where there was like a suspect that I thought there was something weird going on. And I confronted him. I actually confronted both of them. And they were just friends and they both had the opportunity to say something. And they were, you know, obviously Herman was married to me and he was married to his wife as well. And he's like, oh no, like if I wanted, to do that or to be that, I would have totally come out of the closet a long time ago. Like, that's not what I like. And he even actually joked about it. And he said, I wish I did. Right. And I said, yeah, I wish so too, because I want to be a gay man in my next life, and I'm like all for that. So I'm like, you know what, that makes both of us. And the other guy said, you know what? I just see him like as the father figure. And obviously it wasn't the person that he ended up having a relationship with. This is just truly a friendship. But they were like such good friends that I was kind of like getting jealous. And I even like confronted them, like I'm telling you. But that was the only time, right, in our marriage throughout the years where I suspected anything, because he never showed me any other signs. And he was a very jealous man, and he never showed any signs. And I'm sure that there's a lot of little ladies out there that can relate to my story. I'm not the only person in America or in the world that this has happened to, right? So, but what happens is when the person is no longer here, and certain amount of years have gone by, people feel more freely to talk about these things. And people are like, oh, I didn't want to tell you before because, I didn't want to hurt you. You've gone through so much. I wanted to protect you. And I'm like, protect me from that? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, this is like, I wish I would have known just to make him feel better about himself, because I would have never judged him for that. And, I would have never thought of him differently, just because he had that. I would have never seen that as a weakness or as something negative.
Yeah.
On the contrary, you know what I mean? So that's what I was so hurt by, because he never had that conversation with me. So, years later, I obviously, after he passes away, I find all these things out. And at that moment, I wanted to reach out. At that moment, I wanted to reach out to the individual. And everybody's like, oh, no, don't do that. Like, you're still hurting and you're not emotionally prepared for that. So, I listen to people and I say, you know what, you might be right, because my emotions right now are very mixed. And, I will have the conversation when the right time comes about. And sure enough, 4 or 5 years later, I said, you know what, this is a conversation. I've moved on in my life. I'm almost getting married, and it's a new chapter in my life. And there's still some things that I think about, that I would love to have a conversation, with this man that spent the last year of his life with him, that can clarify for me and can answer these questions. And that's what it was. And so it was a great talk.
We kind of see a photo of the guy. And then you were supposed to meet him on camera. He did not come on camera, but then you had a long conversation off camera with him on the phone. And what did you, that you can share with us, gather about their relationship those years?
That it was a real relationship. Well, not for those years. I mean, it was for a year or whatever. By the time we were separated, by the way, when this happened. So it's not like he was cheating on me. Yes, we were separated, in May, around that time of 2015. We were good friends and we worked together and the whole thing, but we had separate lives as far as that went. You know what I mean? He was going out, we never talked about divorce, or we never talked about anything like that. But, it was kind of like there was an understanding that we were separated and that he was having fun and going out and dating and doing whatnot. And so was I. And we were okay with that. And like I said, when he passed away a year after, which was very unexpected.
How did he pass again?
He had a massive heart attack.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
He had a heart attack. Yes. So I never imagined that I would find out that he was in a relationship, with a man. So that's, became public knowledge, a couple of days after he passed away. So it's not only was I dealing with Herman's death, but it was, finding out a lot of things that are hurtful, even though we were separated. You know what I mean? Hurtful because he never got to tell me, not because what it was. And like I said, I don't think if it would have been a woman that I would have found about, like I would have had the conversation with her. But for me, it was important for me to know that he was happy and that he had gone to do what maybe he had wanted to do all his life. I mean, there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that, that die without ever coming out of the closet, and that they sacrifice other lives, for their family. And what for? Like, it's not worth it. Life is too short and fragile, and you should be what you want to be and live your life how you want to live it, as long as you're not harming anyone. And in this case, he wasn't harming anyone.
I have a couple,
You know,
I have just some questions. Like, okay, so we know you came from Cuba, right? You were born in Cuba.
I was born and raised here. My parents are Cuban. I always say I'm Cuban American, right? But I was raised in a very Cuban way because my grandmother raised us and she was very Cuban. She never learned English in this country. And she basically gave up all her life, to raise us because my mom was a doctor and my mom was born in Cuba and raised in Cuba. And, she worked many, many hours. So my Cuban grandmother raised us. And we were always brought up very like traditional Cuban with like, all the traditions and the food and the very, Latin, environment. But I'm Cuban American. I was born in this country, but of Cuban descent.
And once you became, an adult, how soon after did you meet your first husband, in which he was featured in the Netflix documentary, Cocaine and Cowboys?
Right.
What's the story behind that? How much?
So I met him. I was 23 years old when I met him, 22, 23. And my father had passed away and my mom had moved back to Spain. So I was like pretty much here, sorry. Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fixed. Yeah.
So anyway, we met, I was like 23 years old when I met him. Yeah. And I had lost my father. Sorry.
What were you doing? You're so beautiful. Did you ever model or like, what was your job at 23?
Oh, thank you. So I always wanted to be an attorney. And then I decided when I got together with the dad and, we're going to get married and have a traditional wedding and the whole thing. And then the shit hit the fan. I was like, okay. And a few months later, I got pregnant. It's a big story. You'll read it in my book because I'm actually writing a book because, like the show, these reality shows only capture really what is going on in your life at the moment. So, the times that I've done season 1, 2, 3, and now 4, those 3 months that we're filming, you've captured what was going on in my life at that time. But remember, that's 3 months. The whole year has 12 months. So it's a lot of things, obviously, that the show, doesn't capture everything. So I'm writing a book and, and who knows, it might be like on Netflix, right? my whole story, my whole life. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to say is that I was very young. I was naive as well. I grew up very sheltered, very protected. My father was a doctor and my mother was a doctor and they were very strict. So with my father passing away and my mom moving to Spain, I was like 22, 23 years old. I had finished my studies. I have a master's in special ed and I studied education because I wanted to stay home with my kids and have the same schedule that they had. And so I decided to not be an attorney because I knew that would really require a lot of hours and a lot of more hard work. And to me, it was easy. It was better for me, for me to be at home with my family. So I kind of gave that up, as when I found out I was having a baby, I was accepted into law school. And I said, you know what, I'm going to pick a different career where I can spend more time with my kids. So, and that's it. I felt head over heels. I was 23 years old with him, not knowing what that world was about. Or having anything to do with it because I grew up here in a parochial school. My parents were doctors. I lived in a good neighborhood. I moved to Spain and then I came back and I fell in love with this guy, which was, which by the way, on paper, he might sound like a thug or whatever, but in reality, he's a really good guy.
Right. Well, that's what I always wonder. Whenever I kind of love, I'll be watching your movie because one of the genres of movie I love are cocaine movies, where cocaine is almost like another character. And there's so many movies about this world out of Miami. And as the woman that falls in love with this guy, they are so charming. They present themselves as just businessmen. And do you, as the young girl, I assume you didn't know that's what he did, but when do you realize that it's some other
when
business?
When they arrested him, that's when I found out. So literally, the U.S. Marshals and stuff, I remember them telling me in the beginning, first of all, they told me how did a young, beautiful girl coming from your family fall in love with a guy like this. That was the initial, right? That was the initial conversation. So 6 months later, a year later, they're like, oh, we understand how you fell in love with him. Cause he was like really a good guy and like a beautiful heart, with just a bad head on his shoulders. And obviously if you watch Netflix, it was all family related. It was very easy to start doing that. They made it very easy for him. So it was all he knew. That's like what he grew up with. So it's kind of like, you can't even blame him, and he was a young guy also when he got into all that. But I was just kind of like the victim, like guilty by association, because I didn't know that world. I didn't know that world existed. Like we moved to Madrid, Spain in the late 80s because my mom didn't like what was going on in Miami. And, she always had a love for Spain and Europe. So I never really imagined that. I had only seen that in Miami Vice and in the movies as well. So I was like, okay. And then I remember when I met him that he had like long hair and he had like a Porsche and he was like so handsome. And I would ask him, like, I felt like he was 25 years old. I was 23. Like I had a good, like a BMW convertible and a Rolex and all this because my parents were doctors and they gave me all this. And I was like a good girl and got good grades. But so for him, he was 25 and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, your Porsche, like, oh, your parents got it for you. Like I thought all his money came from his parents, like mine did. Right. Right. So that was like this disconnect. So I feel like, he told me that he never really told me who he was or like his connection with this world because he thought he was going to lose me. And he was like so in love with me. And like, and I said, well, gee, thanks. You know what I mean? Like, I could have been like, I didn't even know. Like, honestly, when he got arrested the first time, I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know like what to do, what to say. It was like really like after my father's death, like the first like other tragedy that I went through. Cause it's really bad. It's like, it stays like in your head forever.
So how long were you guys together and how old were your boys, Peter and Frankie, when he actually went to go do time, and how much time did he do? Did you then divorce him before that? Did you get divorced while he was behind bars? Like how long had you been together?
Right. So, he went in, he had to turn himself in, when Peter was 3 months old. Oh. That was horrible. Like you still remember, him crying, just like the whole family. It was like a funeral. So, Peter was 3 months old. So he did 4.5 years, almost 5 years. And, he was sentenced originally to 25 years, but he did 4.5 years. And then he came out. We divorced while he was in jail, just because my parents, saying my mom and my stepfather, my father wasn't alive at this time. They thought that it was the right decision, even though he was still, involved in my life and I would go see him and the whole thing. But like legally, we thought it was like the best thing to do. And so we did. And then when he came out, he came back home and I was still with him. I mean, I would go visit him in prison and I was like, that wife, and I was working as a school teacher and my whole life was like a lie. I would lie to all my teachers because I was so embarrassed. And these are things that I can talk about now. Yeah. But 25 years ago, I couldn't. I was ashamed. I lived like in a lie. I would lie to my neighbors. I lived in Pembroke Pines at Grand Palms Country Club and they would wonder where he was. I was like, oh, he's always traveling. I would take my son to the baseball games and they're like, where's like the dad? So I like literally lived in a lie for 5 years. And I think that makes it even more difficult because that's what I did. It was just like Peter and I, and like, just like in our little world and me working as a teacher. And I lived, ashamed of my circumstances.
So you remained in love with him. He gets out and even though you're divorced, you get back with him. And and then you get pregnant with Frankie?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So now I have two. Yeah.
Okay. And so then how long do you stay together with him before you break up for the final time?
So then, we tried again. Obviously, this person that you have like admiration for and love all that, when they go in there, they come out like broken. And again, everything is, once they come back home, no matter how much you try, things aren't the same. And so we had a lot of challenges and obstacles, but we got through all of them. And Frankie must have been about 2.5, 3 years old when we decided to like separate again. Yeah.
And so then when you broke up, how and when did you then meet Herman and marry him?
So Herman and I met the last day of school. Like we were actually celebrating the teachers. That it was the last day of school, and we were all like drinking and having fun.
For your children, or for your job?
Teaching. No, for my job. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a few months. So after like maybe it was quick. It was like right after we got separated, like formally, that he wasn't there anymore, that I started going out with my friends. You know, it's typical. All your friends try to like make you forget about the guy and, you know, and move forward and meet somebody else. The lighting is really bad.
I don't know. You look pretty to me, and your house
really?
looks
Oh no,
nice.
I just feel like, oh, okay. I just looked kind of like dirty, but anyways.
No, it looks good.
Okay. So we met, like I said, I was with my teacher friends celebrating the last day of school. And we met, and he was talking to all my friends. I didn't even think he had liked me. And after that, we just like started dating, and then we got married 3 years later. Like since he met me, he wanted to get married. He was always like, "Oh, let's get, like, I want to marry you. Like, let's get married." And I would always say, "No, no, no." And then like 3 years later, we got married.
And what was your relationship? You know, you're married for quite a long time to him, and you were still married when he unfortunately passed,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
how many years were you guys married before he died?
So we started dating in 2001, and then we got married in 2004, 3 years later. And he passed away in 2016. So we were together from 2001 to 2000, like 15 years together. Wow. And married 12. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was a long time. Mm-hmm.
And we saw that you had a great life, and that you guys worked together on this fabulous luxury Miami magazine. And the fact that you now know that he was bisexual, like, what was your romantic life like all those years? Was it great in the beginning and died off like most heterosexual marriages?
It was actually,
or was it always good?
It was always good and consistent. And I really had no doubts like about that. But then again, like I've talked to my mother about that afterwards, and my mother, like being a psychiatrist and being a woman of wisdom and experience with 5 husbands and whatnot, she told me that, like, she shared with me, she's like, it's like bisexual lovers are like really good lovers. So it's like, they get it for whatever reason. And so I guess that maybe that's why. But, and again, a lot of bisexual people, like, you can be attracted to a man and to a woman, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like sex has like no gender and no age. And, I really do believe that he loved me and was attracted to me and to the gentleman as well. Like, that's fine. Like, that's okay. I mean, people aren't going to admit that, but I believe that. I feel like you can be that person. And I know, because my mom had shared stories about patients of hers who would go see her that had this conflict where they were in a relationship with a woman and married to a woman and had kids, and they were in love with their wife and had sex with their wife. But then on their travels or whatnot, they had met a gentleman. And, they still weren't sexual, but they had like this physical attraction, and it was like about to happen, but they had all this guilt. And my mom would always encourage them to do it. You know what I mean? You got to do it and try it before you know whether you really like it, what it is. But what I'm trying to say is, like, there's no, like, if you really like the person, you can like a man and a woman. That's like bisexuality. Like, you can fall in love and have love for both of them.
I remember, like, one of my most favorite episodes of Oprah, which is probably at least 15, if not more, years ago. It was about how she had these men, and they happened to be Black, because in the Black community, being gay was less accepted at that time. And they called living on the down low. And they had girlfriends and they had wives, but they also liked having sex with men, which they kept on the down low. And even one guy goes, she's like, well, why not be gay? And he's like, because I don't see at that time, he's like, I don't identify as what I see as a gay man out in the news. I don't want to go to a parade. I don't want to live my life with a man. I like living my life with a woman. I like having a family. I like having this heterosexual life. I like having sex with my wife. But I also like having it,
that.
like, yes.
Because once you try that, I've heard that's people like it. Like my
Once
mom
you
would
go
try
back-
to explain it to me.
Once you try dick, you don't go back, I guess. I don't
Right,
know.
exactly,
But like,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's the kind of thing that like, but I mean, just some women, it's the most devastating thing and a much greater deception than to find out that he was cheating. But and I used to think that, but as I get older, I'm like, God, if that is your case, you could almost explain everything then that might not have been perfect in your marriage as, well, I didn't know that he wasn't, being completely honest in his life. I didn't know that he had to sneak around. So I think it'd be somewhat
Right.
almost freeing in a way, like for you a little bit to be like, gosh, when he was, not that he would, but like if he snapped at me for no reason, if he was, he was probably struggling with something else and it really wasn't me.
No, but that's why I'm saying like that. That's why I really wanted to know that. I really wanted to know because he was such a great man,
Yeah.
a wonderful person, that he got to do that he got to do something that made him happy, that he like had the balls to do it. Because why not? Like, I don't see it as like that he hurt me. By the way, I'd rather a man cheat on me with another man than with another woman. I would not be having this conversation with a woman. But with a man, I'm like, he had something to give him that,
That you couldn't give him. That you could not
give him. Right. So you know what? Yeah, like I wasn't going to strap it on. So you know what? Let him do it. But anyways, because you hear that kind of stuff too. Like people thought I was like in this open marriage or like I would do all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, because if I did, I would own it. Like, as you can see how I am. And I would be proud of it. And I'm at a stage in my life that don't apologize for being me or for thinking the way I do or for having my opinions. Whereas I was very ashamed before as a young girl because I didn't know better and I was brought up in that kind of like environment. I'm not that woman today. So I would definitely be talking about it, but that's not the case. The case is that I wasn't aware of it. And again, I'm happy that it was a man and not a woman. And I'm even happier for him because it was what he wanted. It's not about me. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's about him. It's something that he wanted and he got to do it. And I'm very happy for him. I wish he would just still be around so we can be talking about it. But you see, that would have never happened because it's like those days that you're saying that where it was not okay to do that. And he, and that was one of the things that I wanted to know. Like, was he ever going to tell me? And his lover said, no, he would have never told you because he respected you so much. And I'm like, but that's not just, what's disrespectful? Like not telling me. He's like, well, he didn't see it that way. He thought that was like, he thought you were like such an extraordinary woman and he loved you so much and he cared about what you thought about him. And I was like, and he knew that you were so okay with that. Just, he couldn't tell you.
You were a stepmother to his children, correct?
Yes.
And are you in touch with them? That's always kind of a difficult situation.
I'm not because you know what? Because I was a good stepmom to them and I was good to them while their father was alive. And the moment that their father died, they literally told me, fuck you in my face. They didn't even wait till the dad was buried. Okay. So that is why I'm not in a good relationship with them. Then, they were in the beginning that they thought that I was like their surviving spouse because we were still legally married. They were treating me nice. When they found out that I had a prenuptial agreement with their father and, like the different, how would you say that?
Assets were going to be already taken care of.
Depending on the conditions, right? The conditions is the word I was looking for. I've talked so much today. This is like my 10th time. I've been doing this all day. But
you're doing great.
Thank you. But the conditions that were in the prenup, they go, oh, really? Well, fuck you again. And they showed me their true colors. And then again, you find out, I feel like they were only being nice to me in front of their father. Just because it was important for the father and I was their father's wife. But I found out that they didn't like me, that they hated me, that they were crying the day we got married out of jealousy because he loved my children. I found out so many like upsetting, hurtful, painful things that I could never forgive them. You know, they did so many ugly things to me that their father, I'm sure, was like not resting, because, you know, at the end of the day, Herman only had love for me and me for Herman. And they've made it easier for me to speak as well, because they were the ones that gave me all this information, but in a bad way, you know, in a hurtful, mean way. Like they wanted to like, just like destroy me, you know, like hurt me, and just say, they went beyond what they had to say. You know how like sometimes you kind of like tell your children, if somebody you love, you have more tact and careful about the delivery, about what you're going to say. Well, they didn't. They took it to a different level. So, and I feel like they always kind of knew that after everything I found out, you know, on me being on this kind of a show or having the platform that I do, that I would say my story. Because for many years, I think even they themselves believed that, you know, I was like their father's beard, or that I was like a gold digger, and that I was just with their father, you know, for that. And the truth is that they know as well as I do that that wasn't the case. You know, there's no woman that does this, at least not my kind of woman or myself, if you don't love the person. And that's a big price to pay. Like they've asked me that, well, would you have stayed in the relationship if we would have told you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm cool. And I would have supported him. And I would have even like set him up with guys and everything, because I'm cool that way. But I was not going to give up my life and my, you know, and my happiness, you know, and me, and, you know, and staying in a relationship for money or for nothing. You know, first of all, I didn't even have enough money. But second of all, like, it's something it wasn't even like entertained. Like it was never. So just the fact that like I started finding out all these things that really hurt me and bothered me, it was like, you know, I'll have the chance to say my story, you know, and obviously you didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, what's really interesting is that you are now my fourth friend that I've talked to that is a second or third wife to someone who has passed. And unfortunately, you guys are all in the same boat with the stepchildren. And, you know, two of the girls are wealthy and famous. One is not. The same thing happened. They raised these kids. They thought they were a happy blended step family. Their husband dies. And it's like immediate and weird about the money and all this. And you're a gold digger. It's like, okay, I'm the third wife, but I was with this person for 18 years. I met you when you were three, my one friend. Yeah. Devastating. My one friend, you know, was with this guy for so long and raised the kids and never had kids on her own. And it was a sudden death, like in your situation. And just, it's like it's weird how honestly often it happens. And nobody thinks about the stepmom in that situation and how devastating it is for this woman that met these kids as children. And then these children don't want to be in their life anymore because of, you know, a money situation or how they all of a sudden see it when you had every holiday with them and you did all these things. So, I mean, it's one of those things I'm kind of happy to expose because I feel like everyone always thinks the stepmother's the evil stepmother. You know, everyone always thinks they're like, you know, a Cinderella situation. And it's like, it's
and
not
they forget
like
that you're the one that's with their husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're
the dad
one
loved the dad and took care. Yeah. The whole thing. I know you have to go soon, but you know, it's so interesting to watch your family dynamic and that conversation with your now husband, at the time fiance, with your son Peter, and discussing the care of your son Frankie, who, you know, suffered this horrible accident. But my God, you're so strong, and it's so wonderful to see your relationship with him, and to see you struggle with how to care for him after this brain injury. And it is something that we have never ever seen in the franchise. And I think people really love seeing it. I know you have to go, so I'm just going to wrap it up. But all the Juicy Scoopers really respect you and are, you know, supporting you and feel for you in how you've had to, you know, have this huge change in your life after Frankie's brain injury accident. And the conversation that happened was the most real scene I've ever seen in the Housewife franchise between your fiance, your older son, and your son, Frankie. And it was so amazing. It was so loving to see that Frankie like knew that you guys were talking about him and struggling and how best to care for him. And it was so intense. Has anything changed in what you guys have been doing since then and giving him the best care and also protecting your own self-care?
Right. So no, I mean, watching it as a family, thank God it was many months after and we're all in a good place. And we moved on from that and gotten stronger as a family and as like brother and mother, just like the whole dynamics. So thank God for that. And thank God that we watched it as a family, and it was so hurtful and painful to watch because it's like you see your family in like a crisis and like breaking, and it just made us like act upon it. I mean, we were already acting upon it after it actually did happen, when that happened. But this is months after. We're seeing it again on TV and we're crying and we're like, in pain because we're watching this, but we're in a better place and in a good place. So that's what made it better and easier to watch. I don't know if you get me. Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that actually, it kind of helped rewatching this intense therapy session. Actually probably helped you.
Right, because we actually lived it. So as soon as we lived it, yes, we hug it out as a family and the whole thing. But, we continued, to act on it and to like, and work on our family and obviously, to get more help for Frankie. It is not get more help for Frankie because Frankie has everything like he needs. Now he has a shadow, which fortunately I got for him again. It was very difficult because I'm very overprotective. I was interviewing people. I never thought, they were good enough for him. And if I can trust them and, I need to be at peace. So being with Frankie the whole time, that's what brings me peace because I know he's with me and I got him and nothing's going to happen. But it's hard to like give him to someone that doesn't really know him. And I'm like, what if he can't say something or express himself and maybe he orders the wrong food? But like Todd says, you know what? You got to let him order the wrong food. Next time he'll be like, oh, okay, no, I don't want that. Right. So it's like, but it's hard when you're the mom, when you're the brother. And, when we're just like, trying always, obviously, to do like the best that we can. And that's why he's done so amazing because we've given him so much love and care and everything. But, I think that we just kind of like become comfortable and, the outside world might say, oh, you know what? Well, there's this you can do. There's that you can do. Todd's intentions were always good intentions. And, he just wants to make the family and everybody happy and perfect, which is like how we are, you know what I mean? It's like, we don't give up. We keep on going. We find solutions. And, it's really sad that we had to have that uncomfortable conversation, but we got good results from it. And, that's the important thing. We're in a good place. Like I said, now I have a shadow for Frankie. I finally found, like I say, God put him, like God knew that I was like crying and wanting this so bad that he brought me this, person into my life that actually does this. So he spends 4 hours with him 5 days a week or even 6 sometimes. And he's like going like this to me. You like it, right? Isn't it great? Yeah. I finally found like it's like a shadow. It's a buddy. He's like
I understand. Old.
Yeah. And he had one like in school, all his high school years. I did this for him where it was also first to start off as a female and then her husband ended up doing it. They're both educators, where they shadow him and right. It's been great. But then, like I said, after that, when I met Todd in my life, it was a lot of turmoil in my life. Todd's always had like a lot of peace and he's probably about to walk in here in a moment. His life was always so calm and so like chill and so like, I don't want to say perfect, but normal. Let's call it normal because there's no perfection.
Yeah.
And then he meets me with all this. So it's not like I came with like baggage. I came with like the whole like Samsonite store. He's like, whoa, what is this? Right. But again, we were able to go through all this because we have so much love for each other and we're so in love. And at the end, love wins. And that's why we eloped and we got married, just him and I. And that's it. We're like, you know what? Now it's about you and I. Like, we need this moment, just you and I.
Well, I love how much you've shared. I love the show. I love the backdrop of Miami. I think the cast is really great and interesting. I look forward to, I don't know how many episodes are left. And then you guys, have you done the reunion yet?
We did. We filmed the reunion already.
Oh, okay. So so we just have a few episodes left, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's 12 episodes. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like really enjoying it and you know, being so honest with your life, and you know, I'm rooting for you. I'm excited about your book. I'm going to keep watching.
Thank you.
And I mean, it's fun. I've met Marisol before. I love your friendship. I've met Lisa, and you have a good friendship with her, and I like the other girls on it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I don't want you to give anything away or anything, but yeah, I've been telling everybody to watch it, and I will be continuing to watch it. And
thank you for your love and
journey.
support. And
Yeah.
I know we're not going to disappoint you. I know you're really going to enjoy it and look forward to another season.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and take care. Love to the fam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Again, thank you, everybody. Justin and I will be back in Tempe. Justin, also what's your next gigs? Where can they see you? Do you have anything juicy coming up?
You can see me pass out on stage.
Yeah.
No, I will be in town. I will be in LA for the majority of February. I'll be in Texas, I believe, March 25th and 26th. I'll be in San Antonio and Sugar Land, Texas, with Jim Jeffries.
But March 27th, you said you are going to come with me.
I will be, yeah.
Chris Frangiola.
Yep.
I believe Sarah Colonna will be there. I'll confirm that because she's going to be on Thursday's show. For a very super duper, like the Super Bowl of Juicy Scoop, live Juicy Scoop on Sunday, March 27th at the Brea Improv in California. And also stand up will be on the Friday, the 25th and 26th. Get those tickets. I will be 100% and better.
Yes,
and thank you so much, you guys. Everything's at heathermcdonald.net.